Are you over 40 and like to travel alone? Japan is one of the best places in the world to do just that. It's safe, things are clean and efficient, the food is wonderful, it's surprisingly affordable, and there is so much to see and experience across the country. On this trip, I headed north from Tokyo to Morioka, which placed second on the New York Times list of places to go in 2023. Here's what to see and eat in Morioka, Japan. Morioka is a mid-sized, picturesque city, and you can easily walk to see all the main attractions in one day. It's 2 hours north of Tokyo by the Shinkansen bullet train, and despite the attention it got from the New York Times article, it retains its local charm and doesn't feel overly touristy. I actually had 2 days in the city, so I spent the first day leisurely seeing the main sights, and then I went to explore the countryside on day 2. My first stop was to see the rock-splitting cherry tree, which was designated as a national treasure of Japan in 1923. This 400-year-old cherry tree stands in front of the district courthouse and grew out of a crack in a large granite boulder. The best time to visit would be in the spring when the tree is full of delicate pink blossoms. But at any other time of year, it's still impressive to see such a large tree growing out of the rock. For lunch, I wanted to try Jajamen, which is one of the 3 great noodle dishes of Morioka. Pairon is the shop that introduced this dish to Japan from China. And there's often a line of customers waiting outside, which is a sign that the restaurant is good and worth visiting. Jajamen is a bowl of steaming, flat udon noodles topped with the ground meat and red miso paste, sliced cucumber, and grated ginger. When the bowl arrives, you mix everything together, and they recommend trying your first couple of bites just like that. You can then adjust the taste to your liking by adding vinegar, grated garlic, chili oil, salt, or pepper. At the end, it's customary to leave some noodles in your bowl, crack a raw egg into it, and mix it all together. They will then add some boiling water and some more miso paste to make a soup called chi tantan to finish your meal. After filling up with noodles and soup, I walked across the street to the ruins of Morioka Castle. The castle was built in 1633, but sadly it burned down just a year later, and it was never rebuilt. The site was converted into a park in 1906 and is a nice place for an after-lunch walk. You can stroll past the walls that protected the castle and find a quiet place to sit for a little while. After the stroll through the park, I stopped by Sakurayama Shrine, which is just outside of the park. Sakurayama Shrine is an important local shrine, and you will often see people stopping by to offer prayers. I then walked about 20 minutes east to Morioka Hachimangu Shrine. Morioka Hachimangu is the largest Shinto shrine in Iwate Prefecture and is known for its 12 deities that support the basics of life and human society, such as farming, industry, food, clothing, and shelter. The shrine is the site of many different festivals throughout the year, with the highlights being the horse parade in June and the horseback archery display in September. It was just a normal Saturday when I visited, so I tossed a coin into the donation box, shook the chimes to get the deity's attention, and prayed for peace and health. I leisurely made my way back towards the center of Morioka and stopped by the red brick building that was formerly the headquarters for the Bank of Iwate. The building was designed by the same architect who designed the head office of the Bank of Japan back in Tokyo, and it was completed in 1911. Today, it's a museum where you can learn about the financial history of the city and enjoy the unique architecture of the building. Heading back towards Morioka Station, I passed through the Odori shopping street. Today, it seems like much of the commercial activity is centered closer to the train station, so this older shopping street is a bit quiet, but it's still nice to stroll through and watch the locals going about their day-to-day business. Near Morioka Station is Kaiun Bridge spanning the Kitakami River. You'll probably pass this bridge on your way into the city from the train station, but I was hoping to get an afternoon view of Mount Iwate in the background. Unfortunately, clouds were blocking the view, but it's still a picturesque spot to relax a bit. There are quite a few places to eat near the station, but I wanted to try one more of Morioka's great noodle dishes while I was there. I backtracked towards Morioka Castle and headed to Shokudoen, which is famous for bringing Morioka Reimen to Japan. Reimen means cold noodles, and this dish is often eaten at the end of a grilled yakiniku meal where you cook various meats and vegetables at your own table. Reimen noodles are served in a beef broth with a side of kimchi for some tang and spiciness. The Morioka version is notable for using potato starch in the noodles, making them translucent and very, very chewy. A little tip is not to take too many noodles into your mouth at once. Because they're so chewy, you may not be able to bite through them, and you can end up with too many noodles in your mouth that you have to swallow. And so ended my first day in Morioka. I still had one more day in Morioka, so on day 2, I headed out of the city to explore the countryside. My first stop was at the Morioka Handicrafts village, which is about a 30-minute drive from the city. The Handicrafts village was probably busier in the past, and unfortunately it feels a bit run down, but there are still artisans at work here, and I was particularly interested in seeing the Nambu iron kettles that the region is famous for. These cast iron kettles are used to boil water for tea and is said to give them a unique, very mellow taste. Each one is handcrafted by an expert artisan, and for cast iron, they are surprisingly lightweight and often very intricately patterned, making them real works of art. Also at the Handicrafts village is an old farmhouse with an attached stable to care for horses, which were important for farming. The house is an interesting glimpse into how the Japanese lived hundreds of years ago. After getting lunch, I headed over to Koiwai Farm, which is 10 minutes away from the Handicrafts village by car. Koiwai is known for its dairy products, and the farm offers local families a nice day trip to escape the city with a variety of outdoor activities. You can also get a nice view of Mount Iwate from here. On the day I visited, they were allowing visitors to see the barns where they keep their dairy cows. Koiwai is a working farm, and there weren't any guided tours, but you could observe and smell the farm at work. Those were my 2 days in Morioka, Japan. Despite being thrust onto the world stage by the New York Times article, I think the city retains a lot of its quiet charm. On a tour of northern Japan, it's definitely worth a stop to see this city. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I've lived in Japan for more than 2 decades, but I haven't really seen much of the country. I decided it's time to change that, and I'll be traveling around Japan, many times doing solo trips, staying in hotels to hostels. If you think that you'd like to someday visit Japan and see more than just Tokyo, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate your support as I continue to share my experiences here. Thank you for watching.